The text came 3 days before my sister's wedding. Dad's name lit up my screen at 11:47 p.m., and for half a second I thought maybe he was checking in or maybe asking if I needed directions to the venue. Instead, 12 words appeared that made my stomach drop straight through the floor. Please don't come to the wedding. The family wants a drama-free day. Below it, one tiny heart reaction from Olivia, my sister, the bride. She'd liked the message that uninvited me from her own wedding. I stared at that little heart until my screen went black, and in that darkness, something inside me shifted. Because what they didn't know was that I'd already bought my dress, already written my speech, and already discovered something about Olivia's perfect fiancé that would turn their dream wedding into a memory none of them could ever forget. Before I tell you what happened next, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button if you've ever been pushed aside by your own family. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell if you've ever felt invisible in a room full of people who are supposed to love you. Because this story, this moment, it's not just about revenge. It's about what happens when the person who's been quiet their whole life finally decides to speak. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every single word. I'm going to tell you who I was before that text message arrived. Before I became the person I am now, standing on the other side of something I can never take back. But first, I would like you to grab a cup of coffee as we ride together into this story. My name is Cassidy. I'm 28 years old. I work as a medical billing specialist at a children's hospital, which means I spend my days fighting with insurance companies so sick kids can get the treatment they need. It's not glamorous, and it doesn't come with a corner office or a fancy title. But it matters. At least I always thought it did. My sister Olivia is 2 years younger than me, 26, a marketing consultant for a tech startup. She has the kind of job that sounds impressive at parties, the kind that comes with business cards that feel expensive when you touch them. She wears blazers that fit perfectly and heels that click against hardwood floors like punctuation marks. She's always been the shiny one, the one people always remember. We grew up in a small house in the suburbs of Ohio. Yellow siding, basketball hoop in the driveway, a maple tree out front that turned fire red every October. Dad worked in manufacturing and Mom was a school secretary. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling either. We were just normal, or at least, that's what I thought. But here's the thing about being the older sister. You set the bar, and sometimes, without meaning to, you set it low. I was shy as a kid, and I brought home B's and C's, while Olivia brought home honor roll certificates. I played clarinet in the band while she was captain of the debate team. I stayed home on Friday nights while she went to parties and came back with stories that made Mom laugh and Dad shake his head with that half-proud, half-worried expression parents get. By the time we hit our 20s, the pattern was set. Olivia was the success story, and I was just there. The older sister who never quite figured it out. The one who still lived 30 minutes from our childhood home while Olivia moved to the city, got the job, and met the guy. His name is Bryce Donovan. He is 31 years old and works in finance, which I think means he moves money around in ways I don't understand and makes a lot doing it. He drives a black Audi and he wears watches that cost more than my car payment. When he smiles, his teeth are so white they almost look fake. He proposed to Olivia last December on New Year's Eve, actually. He rented out a rooftop restaurant, had a violinist playing, and got down on one knee right as the fireworks started. She posted 17 photos on social media that night. By morning, she had 1,400 likes. I found out about the engagement from those posts. Not from a phone call or a text, from scrolling through my feed at 1 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. But I didn't say anything. I congratulated her the next day and I asked to see the ring. I smiled and hugged her and pretended I wasn't hurt that I'd learned about one of the biggest moments of her life the same way a stranger in Nebraska learned about it. Because that's what I do. That's what I've always done. I stay quiet. I don't make waves. I show up and smile and play my part. The wedding planning started immediately. Olivia threw herself into it with the same intensity she brings to everything. She created spreadsheets and made Pinterest boards. She scheduled tastings, fittings, and meetings with florists and photographers. And slowly, carefully, I started to notice something. I was being included, but only barely. Like an afterthought. Someone they had to invite but didn't really want there. Mom would mention wedding details in passing. Oh, Olivia chose the most beautiful centerpieces. Dad would talk about how much everything cost, shaking his head but smiling, proud that his daughter was having the wedding she deserved. But when I asked direct questions, when's the bridal shower? What color are the bridesmaid dresses? Do you need help with anything? The answers were vague and distant. I'll let you know. Olivia's handling it. We've got it covered. 3 months before the wedding, I finally asked Olivia directly. We were having coffee at a place near her apartment, and she was talking about the cake flavors they'd narrowed it down to. I waited for a pause and then said, as casually as I could, "So, am I at the wedding party?" She looked up from her phone and blinked. "Oh, we're keeping it really small. Just my college roommate and Bryce's sister. You understand, right?" I nodded and smiled. Of course, I said, but I didn't understand because we're sisters. We shared a room until I was 14. We learned to ride bikes together. We fought over the bathroom and borrowed each other's clothes and stayed up late talking about boys and dreams and fears. And I wasn't at her wedding party. 2 months before the wedding, I asked Mom if she needed help with anything. Maybe I could organize the rehearsal dinner or help with decorations. Mom patted my hand and said, "That's sweet, honey, but Olivia has a wedding planner. Everything's taken care of." 1 month before the wedding, I bought my dress. Navy blue, knee-length, simple but elegant. I spent more on it than I usually spend on clothes because I wanted to look nice. I wanted to belong and feel like part of the family, even if I wasn't in the photos, even if I wasn't standing at the altar. 2 weeks before the wedding, I wrote a speech. Just in case someone asked me to say something or a moment where I could stand up and tell everyone how proud I was of my little sister. How happy I was for her and how much I loved her despite everything. I practiced it in my car and in the shower until the words felt smooth and real. And then, 3 days before the wedding, Dad's text arrived. "Please don't come to the wedding. The family wants a drama-free day." I read it 7 times. I counted. 7 times, trying to make the words say something different, trying to find a way they could mean something other than what they clearly meant. Drama-free. As if I was the problem or the one causing issues. I'd been quiet my entire life. I'd never complained, never argued, never pushed back. And now, 3 days before the wedding, I was being uninvited because my presence would cause drama. I scrolled up through our text history. Dad and I barely texted. "Happy birthday" here. "How are you there?" Nothing deep or real, and now this. I looked at the message again, and that's when I saw it. The tiny heart reaction from Olivia. She'd seen the message. She'd read it, and she liked it. My little sister, the bride, had approved of me being uninvited from her wedding. I sat on my couch in the dark, phone still in my hand, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, just a slow, creeping realization. They didn't want me there. Not just at the wedding, but also in their lives, photos, and story. I was the embarrassing older sister, the one who didn't measure up, the one they tolerated at holidays but didn't actually want around when things mattered. And for the first time in my life, I felt something I'd never let myself feel before. I felt done. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, watching shadows from the streetlight outside shift across the plaster. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that little heart, Olivia's heart, the one she'd left on the message that uninvited me. By 3 a.m., I'd replayed every family dinner, every holiday, and every moment where I'd felt just slightly outside the circle. And now, looking back with this new clarity, I could see the pattern so clearly it made my chest ache. Thanksgiving 2 years ago, Olivia announced she'd gotten promoted. Dad opened a bottle of wine he'd been saving, and Mom made her favorite dessert. They toasted and they celebrated. I sat at the end of the table, smiling and clapping. That same dinner I'd mentioned I'd gotten a raise, small but still. Mom had said, "That's nice, honey," and then turned back to Olivia and asked about her new office. Christmas last year. Olivia brought Bryce home for the first time. He was charming and funny. He told stories that made everyone laugh. He brought expensive wine and complimented Mom's cooking, and Dad loved him immediately. I brought Josh, a guy I'd been seeing for 4 months. He was quiet and kind. He'd tried to join the conversations, but every time he spoke, the attention drifted back to Bryce. By the end of the night, Josh was checking his phone. We broke up 2 weeks later. He never said it was because of that dinner, but I knew. Easter was Olivia's birthday, the 4th of July. Every gathering, the same dynamic. Olivia was always at the center. Me at the edges, and I'd accepted it. I told myself it didn't matter. I'd convinced myself that being the quiet one and the supportive one was enough. But now, staring at that text message, I realized something. It wasn't enough, and it had never been enough. Because no matter how supportive I was, no matter how quiet, no matter how much space I gave them to shine, I was still the problem. My existence was the drama they wanted to avoid. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I sat at my kitchen table with coffee that went cold while I stared at it. I kept picking up my phone, opening the text thread, putting it back down. I wanted to respond. I wanted to ask why and demand an explanation. But another part of me, the part that had been trained for 28 years to not make waves, kept whispering, "Don't. You'll make it worse. Just let it go." By noon, Mom had texted, "Your father talked to you." I wrote back, "Yes." "It's for the best, Cassidy. Olivia's stressed. The wedding's in 3 days. Let's just get through this and we can all talk after." Get through this, as if I was a storm or an obstacle. I didn't respond. That afternoon, my aunt called, Dad's sister. She'd always been kind to me. "Cass, honey, I heard and I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on, but this isn't right." I almost cried, but I held it in. "It's fine. They want a small wedding. You're her sister." "I know." "Do you want me to talk to your dad?" "No, it's fine, really." It wasn't fine, but I couldn't explain it. Couldn't put into words the specific kind of hurt that comes from being erased by your own family. That night, I did something I'm not proud of. I opened social media and I went to Olivia's page. Her feed was full of wedding countdown posts, photos of her dress fitting and venue, the cake samples. Her friends commented with heart emojis and exclamation points. I scrolled further back to the engagement photos, the birthday tributes Bryce had posted about her, and then I saw something that made me stop. A photo from 6 months ago. Olivia and Bryce at some charity gala. They looked perfect. Olivia in a silver dress and Bryce in a tuxedo. The caption read, "With my forever person." But it wasn't the photo that caught my attention. It was one of the comments. From someone named Danielle Pearson. 3 words, "Miss you, B." I clicked on her profile. It was private, but her profile picture was clear enough. A pretty woman, blonde, and in the corner of the photo, just barely visible, was a man's shoulder. A shoulder wearing a suit jacket I recognized, because I'd seen Bryce wear it at Christmas. I sat back, heart pounding. I told myself I was reading too much into it. A comment on a photo didn't mean anything. Maybe Danielle was a friend, or maybe the shoulder in her photo was someone else's. But something in my gut told me differently. I spent the next 2 hours doing something I'd never done before. I searched Danielle's name, found her on a professional networking site. She worked at the same finance company as Bryce, and her profile said she'd been there for 3 years. I found an old blog post from their company. A team-building retreat from 2 years ago, and there was a group photo. Bryce and Danielle standing next to each other, laughing at something off camera. I found more. Tagged photos on other people's accounts that were still public. Bryce and Danielle at happy hours and at company events. At a baseball game. Recent photos from 2 months ago, from 4 weeks ago, and from 10 days ago. Nothing explicitly wrong. Nothing I could point to and say, "That's proof." But enough to make my stomach twist and to make me wonder. And then I found it. A photo from 3 weeks ago. A mutual friend of theirs had posted it on a group dinner at some upscale restaurant. 8 people around a table, and Bryce was there. Danielle was there. And Bryce's hand was on Danielle's shoulder, not in a friendly way, in a way that looked comfortable and familiar. The caption read, "Best team ever." I zoomed in on Bryce's face. He was looking at Danielle, and he was smiling in a way I'd only ever seen him smile at Olivia. I put my phone down and picked it up again. This could be nothing or me projecting what is not there. I wanted to find something wrong because I was hurt or angry. Or this could be something Olivia didn't know about. Something that, if true, would shatter her perfect wedding, her perfect life, and her perfect story. I thought about that text from Dad and about Olivia's little heart reaction, about being uninvited from the wedding and being told I was drama. And I thought about all the years I'd been quiet, all the times I'd smiled and nodded and accepted being second and forgotten. I picked up my phone one more time. I wasn't going to that wedding. They'd made that clear. But maybe, just maybe, I could still send a gift. The next morning, I woke up with perfect clarity. The kind that comes when you finally stop trying to talk yourself out of something you know you need to do. I made coffee and opened my laptop, and I started working. First, I needed to be sure, because if I was going to do this, I had to know I was right. I couldn't blow up my sister's wedding based on suspicion and old photos. I went back through Danielle's social media, this time methodically. I screenshotted every photo, every comment, every interaction between her and Bryce. I organized them by date, and I made a timeline. 2 years ago, occasional work photos, professional and distant. 1 year ago, more frequent, still professional but friendlier. Group settings mostly. 6 months ago, regular appearances together and comments on each other's posts. Inside jokes in the replies. 3 months ago, the photos got more intimate. Not in an obvious way, but in small details. The way they stood next to each other and the way he looked at her in candid shots. 1 month ago, that photo with his hand on her shoulder. I sat back. This was something, I knew it was, but I needed more. I did something I'd never done before. I called Bryce's office. Used a fake name and said I was planning a surprise party for a friend who worked there and needed to confirm some details. The receptionist was friendly and helpful. She confirmed that yes, Bryce and Danielle both worked there. Same department and same floor, actually. They'd worked together on several major projects. I asked, casual as I could, are they close? I'm trying to figure out who to invite. A pause, then, oh, they're pretty close, yeah, they get lunch together a lot. Actually, I think they just got back from a conference in Atlanta together last week. Last week, 5 days before the wedding. A conference, I said. Yeah, some finance thing. They were gone for 3 days. I thanked her and hung up, sat in silence. 3 days together in Atlanta. A week before Bryce was supposed to marry my sister. I opened my laptop again, searched for finance conferences in Atlanta. Found one major event, hundreds of attendees. I clicked through the schedule, the speakers, and the sponsors. And there in the photo gallery from the event, I found them, Bryce and Danielle, in business attire, standing close and smiling. The photo was time-stamped. 9:47 p.m. The event had ended at 6. This was after the event. This was them together, hours after the official conference stuff was done. I leaned back in my chair, heart pounding. I still didn't have proof of an affair. Not really, but I had enough to ask questions. Enough to make Olivia wonder and enough to crack the perfect surface of her perfect wedding to her perfect man. But here's the thing. I didn't want to just crack it. I wanted to shatter it because this wasn't just about Bryce potentially cheating. This was about Olivia choosing him over me and choosing her perfect image over her own sister. I needed more. I spent the rest of that day becoming someone I didn't recognize. I created a fake social media profile, stock photo for the picture, followed some random accounts to make it look real. Then I sent Danielle a message. Hi, I'm working on a feature about women in finance and I saw you were at the Atlanta conference last week. I would love to interview you about your experience. Are you available for a quick call? I hit send before I could second-guess myself. 2 hours later, she responded. Sure, when will it work for you? We set up a call for the next morning, the day before the wedding. That night, I barely slept again. But this time, it wasn't because I was hurt. It was because of adrenaline, slightly terrifying feeling of being in control for the first time in my life. The next morning, I called Danielle at exactly 10 a.m. I had my questions ready. I kept my voice friendly, professional, and curious. We talked about the conference, her career, and the challenges of being a woman in finance. She was articulate. Confidence and nice, actually, which made this harder. 15 minutes in, I asked, what's it like working with a team? Do you have mentors or close colleagues who've helped you? She didn't hesitate. Oh, definitely. Bryce Donovan has been amazing. We've worked together for years now, and he's taught me so much. Bryce, I repeated like I was writing it down. That's great. Are you close? A pause, barely noticeable, and then, yeah, we're good friends. We travel together for work a lot. Actually, we were just in Atlanta together last week. That's nice, I said. Do you two hang out outside of work? Another pause, longer this time. Sometimes, dinners and drinks, networking. Of course, I said, and is Bryce married? The longest pause yet. He's engaged, actually, getting married this weekend. Oh, congratulations to him. You must be excited for the wedding. Silence, then quietly, I'm not invited. My heart stopped. Really, I thought you said you were close. We are, but his fiancée doesn't really know about me or how much time we spend together. It's complicated. Complicated. I felt a cold satisfaction settle in my chest. Well, I'm sure she'll understand. If they're getting married, she must trust him completely. Yeah, Danielle said. I guess. We wrapped up the call shortly after. I thanked her and she thanked me. I hung up and sat in the silence. His fiancée doesn't really know about me. That's what Danielle had said. Olivia didn't know. She didn't know that her future husband spent days traveling with another woman. She didn't know they had dinners and drinks and inside jokes and a relationship his own coworker described as complicated. I had what I needed. Now I just had to figure out how to use it. The wedding was the next day, Saturday, 2 p.m. ceremony. Reception to follow, and I knew the timeline because I'd been following Olivia's countdown posts obsessively. I also knew something else. The wedding venue was at Riverside Manor, a place about 40 minutes from the city. Beautiful grounds, garden ceremony, reception in the main hall. I wasn't invited, but that didn't mean I couldn't send something. That night I worked until 3 a.m. I created something I'm still not sure I'm proud of. A wedding card. Simple but elegant. The kind you'd buy at a nice stationery store. On the outside, "Congratulations on your special day." Inside, I'd printed something. A letter. Not long, just a few paragraphs. It started, "Dear Olivia and Bryce, congratulations on your wedding. I wish I could be there to celebrate with you, but as you know, I wasn't invited. I understand you wanted a drama-free day, so I'm sending this gift instead. Something for you both to think about as you start your new life together." Then I listed everything I'd found. The timeline of photos, the comments, the conferences, the dinners, and the phone call with Danielle where she'd admitted Olivia didn't really know about their relationship. I didn't accuse. I didn't call Bryce a cheater. I just laid out the facts, clean and clear. At the end, I wrote, "Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe this is all innocent. But if I were getting married, I'd want to know if my future husband had a complicated relationship with a coworker he traveled with regularly. I'd want to know before I sign my name next to his, before I promised forever. Consider this a wedding gift. The truth is something our family never gave me." I printed it on nice paper. I put it in the card and I sealed it in an envelope. Then I did something that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. I went online. I found a courier service that specialized in same-day delivery. I paid extra for them to deliver it directly to Olivia at the venue. During the reception, I specified, "Please hand directly to the bride. Time sensitive." I scheduled it for 7 p.m., right around when speeches would normally happen, when everyone would be drunk and happy and celebrating, when the photographer would be capturing every moment. I paid, confirmed, and then I closed my laptop. There was no going back now. Saturday morning, I woke up at 9 a.m. The wedding was in 5 hours. I made breakfast. I cleaned my apartment and I tried to read a book, but I couldn't focus. By 1 p.m., I was packing. By 1:45, I was sitting on my couch staring at my phone. At 2:03, Olivia posted a photo, her and Dad walking down the aisle. She looked beautiful, he looked proud. The caption, "Here we go, forever starts now." I felt a twist of guilt, then it passed. The afternoon dragged on. I watched TV without seeing it. I ate food without tasting it. At 6:47 p.m., I got a notification. The courier confirmed delivery. "Package delivered to Olivia Foster at Riverside Manor, signed for by the recipient." My hands started shaking. I waited. 7:15 p.m., nothing. 7:32 p.m., nothing. 7:58 p.m., my phone rang, unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. 8:03 p.m., Mom called. I didn't answer. 8:09 p.m., Dad called 3 times in a row. I turned my phone to silent. 8:47 p.m., a text from Aunt Helen. "What did you do?" I didn't respond. 9:23 p.m., Olivia called once. I stared at her name on the screen until it stopped ringing. At 10:38 p.m., I finally checked social media. Olivia's account was private now, Bryce's too, but other people had posted, wedding guests and friends of friends. The photos were chaotic, people standing in groups. Confused faces, and one photo showed Olivia in her dress, but her face was red and tear-streaked. Another showed Bryce arguing with someone outside. The captions were vague. "Crazy night. Never seen a wedding end like this. Drama, the word they'd tried so hard to avoid." At 11:04 p.m., my cousin texted, "Olivia left early. Bryce is still there. His parents are losing it. What the hell happened?" I didn't answer. At 11:52 p.m., I finally opened the voicemail from the unknown number. It was from the venue, professional and confused. "Hi, we had an incident tonight involving a delivery you sent. Please call us to discuss." I deleted it. The next morning, Sunday, I woke up to 47 missed calls. Texts flooded my phone. Mom, Dad, Olivia, Bryce, Aunt Helen, and cousins. I read one text from Mom. "How could you, on her wedding day? What is wrong with you?" One from Dad. "You've destroyed this family. I hope you're happy." One from Olivia. "I will never forgive you for this. Never." And one from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Danielle. I don't know who you really are, but Bryce just called me screaming. He says his wedding is ruined because of you. I don't know what you did, but thank you. He deserved it, and so did she." I put my phone down, made coffee, sat at my kitchen table in the quiet morning light. It was done. The fallout was brutal. My parents stopped speaking to me completely. Olivia blocked me on everything. The wedding, from what I pieced together from cousin gossip, ended at 9:30 p.m. when Olivia read the card in front of half the reception. She'd confronted Bryce. He'd tried to deny it. She'd called Danielle right there and put her on speaker, asked her directly. Danielle, to her credit, told the truth, said they'd been having an affair for 8 months, said he'd promised to call off the wedding, said he'd told her Olivia knew about her but was okay with it because they had an understanding. They didn't have an understanding. Olivia had no idea. She left the reception in her dress, drove to her apartment. Bryce followed her. They fought in the parking lot. Someone recorded it. It didn't go viral, but it spread through the family. The wedding was annulled. Technically, it still happened, but Olivia had it legally voided within a week. Bryce moved out. Danielle quit her job. The whole thing imploded. And me, I lost my family. But here's what I gained myself. 3 months later, Olivia sent me one text. "You were right, but I still hate you." I wrote back, "I know." 6 months later, Dad called. We had a stiff, awkward conversation. He asked if I was okay. I said yes. He said Mom was still angry. I said I understood. We haven't talked since. A year later, Olivia sent me a photo. Her at a coffee shop holding a book. No caption, just a photo. I didn't respond, but I saved it. Do I regret it? Sometimes. Late at night, when I think about how I'll probably never be invited to another family holiday. When I think about what I destroyed, but then I remember that text. "Please don't come, the family wants a drama-free day." And Olivia's little heart reaction. And I remember that I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped pretending the cracks weren't there. They wanted drama-free. I gave them the truth. Those aren't the same thing. So that's my story. The story of how I went from being the quiet sister to the one they'll never forget. If you've made it this far, I need to know, would you have done the same? Or would you have let it go? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this story made you feel something, anything, hit subscribe. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's just honest. And honesty, it turns out, is the most devastating weapon of all. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one.